Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. This is the budget hearing, Wednesday, March 23rd. The meeting is being recorded and broadcast over cable television. As we do at the start of every meeting, I'd like everyone to rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting's in place to give the public a chance to go over the budget with both the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. And any questions you might have, you can direct those to me, and I will, you raise your hand, I will recognize you. I'd like to have you come up to the podium to speak, and you can direct it to any member you'd like, or to the boards if you'd like. To start off, I'd like to take a nomination for chair of the meeting.
I'd nominate Phil Crawford as chair of the meeting.
Second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now, if you're used to going over the budget at town meeting, we're going to follow the same format. We'll go through by section. If you have any questions on an item in a line item in that section, ask it as we go through, and we will take your questions at those times. Okay. The first section under our operating budget is general government. Under the selectmen, section lines 1 through 8. Any questions on those, Mrs. Campbell?
Let's see, general government has a 20.6% increase. One of the reasons for that appears to be the pay rate increase, line 5. Let's see, pay rate. First of all, I'd like to ask who the employees are. The pay rate increase for the public is what pays for salaries that haven't been addressed yet in the budget that we're looking at. So I'd like to know which employees have not received a raise reflected in this budget.
I believe, Mrs. Campbell, I believe that has to do with the collective bargaining agreements and the expected costs once those agreements have been resolved. Mr. Boudreau, would you like to?
Is every unionized employee in the town, there are no raises for them for fiscal 17 in their budgets.
I couldn't hear that response, Mr. Boudreau.
It's every unionized employee in the town side of government, DPW, library, police, fire, clerical, dispatch. Those contracts all expired at the end of this year.
Okay, but also it pays administrators for increases in their budget, does it not?
It can be, yes. There's no, I don't believe any of the administrators have raises for next year either.
None of the administrators are going to get a raise, is that what you're
I
saying?
believe, I know my contract's a January contract. The only two I think would be Andrew and the fire chief, police chief, and those contracts haven't been done either.
Okay. Because it's the largest pay rate increase that I've ever seen. Being 821.5% an increase, which I think is pretty large. And it amounts to $356,594.
Mrs. Campbell, this happens every 3 years when we do contract negotiations.
I know.
So that's
I've
why
seen
it's
big ones
it's such an increase based over last year.
Uh-huh.
But if you compared it to what happens every 3 years, it's a similar negotiation process that we go through.
I also wonder about the senior tax work-off. I'm wondering if it doesn't appear to me that seniors that are applying are getting the opportunity to use that money to work off a small portion, at least, of their taxes. Is there any reassurance about that?
Mrs. Campbell, does this have to do with lines 1 through 8?
This, oh, you only went to
Yeah,
through
we're-
8.
We're only
Okay,
doing, we're only doing 1
sorry.
through 8, so
Okay,
don't jump ahead.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
No surprise there.
Anybody other questions on lines 1 through 8? No? Thank you. Town accountant, lines 9 through 11? Any questions? Comments? No? Town council, lines 12 through 14. Division of Finance Administration, lines 15 through 28. Comments, questions? Is that a yes, Mrs. Campbell?
Yes, it is.
Okay, there, go ahead.
I'll ask the same question I just asked.
Okay. Oh, the senior tax work-off program. Right?
Yes.
Yes, there it is.
It's a small amount, but it's important to some of the seniors, and what I'm hearing is that they're not getting an opportunity to use that money in the budget. Is there some reassurance that they will get that opportunity?
Mr.
How is
Segura,
it determined?
are you familiar with how that's?
How is it
No,
determined?
I'm not familiar with how that's run, but I'm not sure what you mean by they're not getting the opportunity to.
Well, people that have applied aren't getting the opportunity to work off their taxes. So what is it that they don't know, or what is it that they have to do in order to avail themselves of that opportunity? It's not a huge amount that they
I mean,
get
I'll
off their
look at it,
taxes.
Mrs. Campbell. It could be that at some point we start to exceed the appropriation, so they can't take anybody else. I know there are a couple seniors working in the town hall, but I'd have to find out if seniors are getting turned away without all the funds being expended. But I couldn't tell you tonight whether that's the case or not.
Okay, well, I appreciate it on their behalf. And how far did you go with
We're up to line 28.
28? Elections.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm missing something, but it looks like there's nothing there. 0 for elections because we're having 3 more, right?
The elections on the clerk expenses line 25. You'll see that that's up by $11,640. That's where
Okay,
the elections are, and that's to reflect the cost of the additional elections.
okay.
Board of Assessors, lines 28 through 33. Planning Board, lines 34 and 35. Board of Appeals, line 36. Conservation Commission, 37 through 40. Personnel Board, 41 through 43. Finance Committee, lines 44 through 47. Total general government, $2,704,719. Under public safety, we got police, lines 48 to 52. Any questions? No? Fire, lines 53 to 60. Mrs. Campbell.
I understand the need to increase the hours of the fire department to cover what they should be covering for the citizens of Linfield, but I'm just a little unclear. How many more full-time firefighters are we hiring under this line item?
2.
These line items, 2 more.
2.
And so that explains certainly the department salaries. The call department, though, are there more positions in the call department? Because it would seem,
No, the call department's going to be utilized differently in the new staffing plan. And they'll be
okay.
getting more hours.
So there's a 38% increase in the call department salaries, I think.
Yes. Yes.
So does that mean more? I just don't understand, even though I was here when the chief made his presentation.
Mhm.
I don't quite understand. You're gonna still have the same number of call firefighters?
Yes,
Are they're gonna be paid more? Are they
No.
gonna have more
they're
hours?
gonna get more hours,
They're gonna get more hours,
right, which saves the town hundreds of thousands of dollars
right,
because of the pay difference.
right.
Right.
Okay, I wanted to just reassure myself about that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Also, Mrs. Campbell, the actual full-time staff is gonna increase by 2 full-time firefighters, then 2 equivalent full-time firefighters from the call staff. Is that correct, chief? That was what you were requesting?
It's 4.
Four full-time equivalent out of the call staff.
Okay, so that's where you're getting that increase.
Right.
It's because now there's definite times that people are gonna be filling.
Division of Zoning and Inspection, lines 61 to 63. Civil Defense, 64 and 65. Any questions on the dog officer, 66 and 67? Hard to believe. Is that the end of it? Yeah, total public safety, 4,588,856. Move on to Public Works. Administration, line 68 to 71. Highway, 72 to 73A. Mr. Walsh.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The $250,000 that the town meeting added to the roads in October, I know that it's 73 alpha in here, I think. I know that there was some discussion about moving that over to the capital budget, but I thought I saw a $400,000 some odd dollar decrease in a similar, at the end of the line item, the one right above it. Is that still coming out even, or is that an increase?
Still coming out even.
It's still coming out even.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Mrs. Campbell.
The percentage of the public works budget is down 3.32%. One thing that I'm curious about is the highway, subtotal highway, line 73A. Does that mean that we're going to be paving fewer streets this year? Because that's one of the favorites at town meeting that people talk about.
No, the expense for the highway has been moved to capital. It's
Okay.
just under a different budget.
And the sidewalk, I don't know if we got to that yet. Sidewalk is 0. So is that in the capital budget too?
Sidewalk
Okay.
expenses are 25,000, that hasn't changed. There's no salary on the sidewalk, but there's $25,000 in expenses on the sidewalk. That's line 75.
Right,
So there's,
okay.
it's gone up 0%, but it's the same number
It's
as last year.
25,000, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
What is the advantage of putting it into capital? So,
Mr. Boudreau?
The first one is really from an expenditure standpoint. If for some reason the highway superintendent has problems spending all his money in a fiscal year, he can carry it over in an article, whereas in a line item, it closes out. So if something happens, we have bad weather or the contractor is unable to perform, he can come in, save that money to the next fiscal year. It also allows him to plan for larger projects. He can save the money in the capital where he can't in his budget. So if he had a particularly large project and he had money left over at the end of the year, he could save that to a future project. So those are the two main advantages of switching it over to the capital budget.
thank you.
Even though we already covered them, the line 74, 75. Snow and ice, line 76. Street lighting, line 77. Mr. LaCours.
Mr. Chairman, on the street lighting, could you advise me if there's any solar panels being used in town with respect to cost of electricity that is being generated and charged to the town?
Not that I'm aware of. We have any solar anywhere? No? Andrew? No solar? No, we don't have no solar.
I'm familiar with a vacation town that's pretty much utilizing solars almost all over the town of Chatham
Mhm.
and covering their streetlight expense, whether it be at the dump or other areas that they use. And do we have any discussion or any plans or any discussion about the topic of solar panels in Linfield with respect to our cost for electricity going on at this time?
I think discussion started when Reading Municipal Light was in front of us, but we haven't gotten any further with that through the budget process here. It'll certainly be a topic of discussion.
We're anticipating them to come in this year, Harry, and look at our buildings and our structures to see if any of our buildings are suitable for a solar array, especially the schools, because the roofs are so big.
Right,
But the conversations where they'll be coming in hopefully this summer to look at those.
so that's on the agenda.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jim. Excuse me.
Rubbish collection, line 78. School maintenance and buses, lines 79 through 81. Mrs. Campbell.
I asked this at the selectmen's meeting, or alluded to it. The school committee determines how many school buses we have. We once had 11 buses, now we have 16, I believe it is. Everyone, parents, citizens have all noticed that the buses are very sparsely boarded. Many parents drive their children to school, as attested by those of us that have gotten in the middle school traffic or the elementary school traffic on Summer Street. And so the first question I'd like to ask about this area of the budget. Did I hear that another 200,000 is going into this budget at the selectmen's meeting on Monday night? So there'll be an additional 2,000 beside what's written here?
So what's written there is the budget.
That's it?
Correct.
Okay. Now I'd like to know how much the addition, I can't imagine why we need this many buses for a school system with only 4 schools. So I'd like to know how much is that extra bus costing in these line items? For energy, it's hard to separate, for energy and for expenses. It's not gonna cost a salary apparently, because we're renting the bus from,
We're
The-
leasing the buses. I
They're
believe the
leasing.
number we were given by our DPW director was 80 to 90,000. Andrew?
Yeah, it runs about 60,000 for a bus for one school year.
Yeah.
School year consists of 180 days. That doesn't count the summer timeframe if those buses are needed for the summer timeframe.
Okay.
I don't get it. I don't get why we need another bus. I know that some of the stops were consolidated, much to the distress of some of the parents, but I just don't understand it. When we had 11 buses, I compared newspapers for the Lynn Public Schools with 28 schools and Lynnfields, and we both had 11 buses. So I just don't get it. There's got to be some lack of effort here.
Any other questions on those items? Town building maintenance. Lines 82 and 83. Cemetery, parks and trees, 84, 85. Renovation and upgrades, 86, 87. And after-school youth center, 88 and 89. Here's something with a total. Total public works, 7,123,786. Under human services, Board of Health, lines 90 and 91. Council on Aging, lines 92, 93. Veteran Services, lines 94 through 96. Total human services, $438,946. Cultural and recreation, under the library, lines 97 through 99. Recreation Commission, lines 100 and 101. Historical Commission, lines 102. Memorial Day observance, line 103. Total cultural and recreation, $862,261. Education, lines 104 through 105. Mrs. Campbell.
Education falls in at 4.7% increase. I believe in offering a full-time kindergarten, free of charge to parents. I think that's our responsibility as a democracy. And so I'm very much in favor of offering to all parents in the city a full-time kindergarten opportunity for their children. I realize that they may or may not know they do not have to put their children in kindergarten. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think state law still states the children don't have to go to school till they're 7. So parents that think their children aren't ready for a full day, as an educator, I would recommend, if they have any doubts, to keep them out. It's a gift of time. They'll be in school for many, many years. I do not believe we should be adding what amounts to a deputy superintendent of schools. What they're doing is adding to a $70,000 position for someone who is retiring, $50,000, and creating a $120,000 a year position. I think much of what was presented by the superintendent as goals for this person, job responsibilities for this person, could easily be given to the $70,000 position, which was called Executive Secretary of Curriculum and Instruction. Now, if they're not happy with what that position went with as far as a job description is concerned, they most certainly could change the title or even keep the title that they have now and just change the responsibilities. What I find is in the description is a lot of duplication. Principals, we also have curriculum specialists, and teachers could well do much of the integration of the curriculum at different levels. In fact, having been a teacher for 38 years, I found that there's more buy-in with the staff if they're involved in the integration of the curriculum, if they're involved in the development of the curriculum. So I think this is creating a position that's an executive level position. We only have 4 schools. You know, it's not like we're a big city school system or even a small city school system. So I would like to see that $50,000 kept out of the budget, because when we create new positions with higher salaries, we're increasing health benefits, we're increasing retirement benefits. And I noticed that Mr. Boudreau recommended at the budget summit no new positions, at least for the town side of the government. And of course, that bent with the need for new firefighters. I also favor increasing the cultural arts in the school system. I think one thing that divides the the Linfield Public Schools, that was a slip, Linfield Public Schools from some of the most highly rated schools systems in the Commonwealth are the opportunities for cultural arts. Um, I think it's very important for the teachers to be learning from people with a good music background how to infuse the cultural arts into their units of study. I know I used to put rap songs into phonics, and if we read a play, we did the play, and we'd invite the parents in, that kind of thing. And I have a cultural arts background, but not all teachers do. So I certainly favor that. The important key question with that is it being put in just to give the teachers time out of the classroom, or is it really to enhance the education of the children? Sometimes these kinds of positions are used so that teachers can go off and do something different. And that sort of defeats the purpose in one of the purposes of this position. I also noticed that many of the communities around with that in the past have been compared with Linfield. I found the comparisons to often be apples and oranges because a lot of the communities have more students than we do. Or Masconomet is another one that we're often compared to. They only have one school, so that's apples and oranges too. However, when I did the research on the places that we're frequently compared with, Andover, Hamilton, Wenham, Masconomet, Manchester, North Reading, and Swampscott, I find that Linfield does not get the same grants, the number of grants and the amount of money that other communities do. Andover got $8,700,000 in grants. Hamilton Wenham, 2,861. Masco, 2,101. Manchester, 2,509. North Reading, not 2,000, 2 million. These are millions. North Reading, 3,325. Swampscott, 3,814. Linfield, 1,870. So I'm saying, let's go after more grants. And when you do the per pupil expenditures, the Department of Education, traditionally at least, I don't know if they've changed their stripes recently, but traditionally they would add the community expenditure for schools with the grants to get the per pupil expenditure. So I couldn't find in the research any other community. Linfield at the time, as on the website of the Department of Education, had 2,218 students. And the only one that I could find that had the same number of students was Greenfield, with 2,165 students. Greenfield had a higher per pupil expenditure, but they got $5,659,000 in grants. So I'd say Linfields, let's start going after the grants. I know the department, at least when I was at the department more frequently, they have bidders conferences. They walk you through what you need to do to get the grants. They tell you what grants are available, and I think we should be going after those. The next area is salaries. I followed 3 lines in the middle school budget. Line 2340, media specialist. In the 2010 actual budget, that position had $54,095 attached to it. This is what concerns me. In 2013, that position, I don't know any of these people, by the way, so I have no idea who they are. That position got an 8% increase in fiscal year 2013. In 2014, that position got a 7% increase. In 2015, a 7% increase. In 2016, an 8% increase. Some of you present and some of you at home may see what my concern is. I don't think the private sector is giving salaries like that, salary increases like that. So what happened in that position from 2010 till fiscal 16, and the fiscal 17 budget is not available yet, because the contract, I guess, was finalized late this afternoon. But what happened in that position is, over those years, was $24,134. Wow. Come be a media specialist in Linfield. Then we have line 2800, psychologist. That started in 2010 is $108,191. In, let me see if I can figure out my muddled mess here. In 2013, there was a 5% increase. 2014, a 4% increase. 2015, a 4% increase. And 2016, a 4% increase. Can we really afford to keep doing this? The increase in that position is $54,185. So then we go to the speech therapist. It started off in 2010 as line 2305, and somewhere along the way, as I've collected all these budgets, went up to 2320. So in fiscal year 2010, it was 52,201. In 2013, there was a 7% raise for that position. In 2014, a 6% raise. In 2015, a 7% raise. 2016, a 7% raise. So the increased value of that position was $20,258. So I think that we need to send some messages here. We know that salaries are generally what creates the biggest budget increases. So they're also requesting a capital budget of $250,000. We have a huge capital budget here to consider. And it's for technology. We've steadily had that increase for technology. And my only question about that is I certainly want our students to be up to date. However, Silicon Valley doesn't have computers. Isn't that an interesting thing? Known to be so prominent in technology. And the other thing I find out from reading Education Week, which is sort of the newspaper for educators in the United States, is that there hasn't been an awful lot of research done, K-12 education, on the effectiveness of the use of technology. And some of that may be due to the fact that teachers and the other personnel are learning to use it effectively. So I know a couple of years ago we were buying iPads and now we're buying Chromebooks. So I think that's another thing that should be thought about a little bit is, where are we going with this? Oh, is it really helping our students? At the college level, they have done research and they found out it has helped. It is good for the college students. The research is still being done on K to 12. And I think I've covered. I'm sure you're all happy.
Any other questions or comments on education? Debt and interest, lines 106 to 112. Employee benefits, lines 113 to 119. Mr. Marsolais.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it would be helpful if I could get an explanation concerning line item 119 OPEB. And the reason for my concern is because as I have analyzed for the past several years the financials, I've noticed that our net obligation for OPEB is about $25 million, and we have $200,000 in that account.
Correct.
What is our actual liability moving forward? I mean, when does that come due?
Well, 200,000 is this year's contribution to that. What's currently in the account at the time now, Jim?
About 400,000,
Or 400 there?
roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
With this 200,
No, we've
No.
done one before I got him, one last year.
I don't think we're at 400,000 because.
So it's a little less than that.
I think we were
Yeah,
350
less than
plus
that.
a little, yeah. I believe the initial purpose for opening the OPEB account and starting to fund it was for borrowing purposes. The rating agencies, in order to give you the highest rating they would give you was a AAA, insisted that you have an OPEB account set up and you start addressing the OPEB obligation. I don't think anyone thought that we would fund the liability, but to start recognizing it and putting money in an account was the last piece we needed to get the higher rating, which in turn gives us a much better interest rate when we go to borrow for these capital items or whatever else we purchase. So that was the original purpose for it. OPEB, any of these long-term liabilities is a national problem, and it's also a systemic problem that almost every town and every state deals with. It's as you know, it has bankrupt a couple of states in the past.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And
So that's it. You know, if you have a good suggestion on how to do that in a better manner and that would work system-wide, I think everybody would love to listen to it.
Well, I probably would sell most of our town-owned property to start funding that. That would probably be one, just my personal view. But, you know, the two constants that come out, and especially in the audited financials, is the fact that our total assets, you know, at one time we were exceeding our liabilities by, and I look at 2014 at almost 49 million. And because of this accountability, now we're down to 22 million. It was 26 million. So to me, is that where this contingent liability has to be accounted for under the OPEB? Is that the difference between the 48 million and the 22 million?
Correct. Yes.
So when does this actually come due? I mean, it is unfunded. I mean, our obligation right now is 26 million.
Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thanks. If I could just jump in for a second. So your analysis is correct, and so FASB this year said that towns need to put that obligation on their balance sheet. Previously, if you looked at the financials,
Right.
we would have said, we have this obligation, and so for everybody, other post-employment benefits. So when you have a contract with an employee, you agree to certain terms. And you agree when that employee retires, you provide certain benefits to them. So that's what these obligations are. to some of the previous comments, we have been reflecting this appropriately as we were required to in a footnote on our financials. As of this year, we need to reflect it as a liability. To Mr. Crawford's statement earlier, the rating agencies have started to pay attention to this liability because some much larger municipalities have obviously gotten into trouble because the rate at which their employees are retiring and are requiring, these services, whatever they are paying for, has increased dramatically. And as a result, the municipalities are no longer to pay for those as they go along. So in theory, what happens here is as more and more retirees start to come into our system, our OPEB costs will start to go up.
Correct.
And to the point where, at some point you can't keep up with it, right? That's in theory why we should be putting something aside in a trust like this so that you can then use that to pay for those as they come up. There are a lot of conversations going on in the industry related to other ways to look at this. On the private side, in the private sector, companies are bonding their liabilities or selling their liabilities to insurance companies. And those insurance companies are then responsible for the liability side. So I think there's going to be a lot of conversation as more and more municipalities get into a situation where they can't keep up with it. Personally, I think, or I should say, from a finance committee perspective, we're concerned about putting it into a trust. We believe that we need to put money away for the purposes of funding these liabilities. But by putting it into the trust, that is the only purpose it can be used for. So let me see what I mean by that. If there is ever a failure in the system, we will at some point potentially be penalized for actually putting that money away. So I think that there should be a conversation around, how much and how often we should fund the trust itself, how often, we should be putting money into our normal reserve accounts as well. And I think there'll be a focus on that over the next couple of years for sure. I think if you look at other communities, some have made, just gestures and funded these accounts with $1 just to show that they're thinking about it. Others have started to make big moves into funding these because of surpluses that they've had.
Thank you. Because the other thing, it's kind of a twofold situation with this, and I look at the financial highlights, and the other constant is the total long-term debt that the town currently owns, and that has been constant between $25 to $29 million on top of this unfunded of $25 million. To me, if we want to keep our Boston Globe status of 2.4%, then I would probably, are we anticipating, actually, if I can retract it, Mr. Boudreau had said that we're having a negative 55% growth in Linfield on new business that he alluded to in the paper earlier this week. And that's the constant, the concern that I have is the amount of debt that we actually have. I mean, as a town person, can we anticipate an override of 2.5 in 2018? I mean, because of this debt, this unfunded debt that we have?
I would not expect us to be in a position where we would be asking, certainly not in the foreseeable future. I think OPEB is something that needs to be planned for now, but that is going to ramp up dramatically as you get into, the later part of the, 2020 to 2030. It's not something that's going to hit us now. As far as debt is concerned, I think, to your point, we have maintained an average somewhere between that 25 to 29. Given our rating, with the agencies and our ability to get really what is cheap money today, as a committee, I think the finance committee thinks that it's wise from an infrastructure perspective and, for things like that we're doing in the capital plan this year, like funding a new engine, we should clearly, and to your point, not, go overboard with that. And as you'll note, given some of the large purchases that we made in the past, we will have an opportunity to retire some of that debt significantly over the next 5 to 7 years as well.
Are you, Mr. Chairman, are you going to go over the appropriation targets? Because the line item that I look at is the surplus and deficit. If we look at FY15, we've got $1.6 million that we had a surplus. FY16, we had $299,000, and for fiscal year 17, we're only looking at an $18,000 surplus.
And which items we talking about?
This was on the appropriations target. I don't know
Okay,
if it-
at the beginning of the budget? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so,
Those are very conservative projections for our revenue. That's why it shows such a low balance.
Okay.
But we're very conservative on revenue projections. The other ones reflect the actuals when they came in. So if you go back and look at those town meetings, the upcoming budget will have a very small balance. But once those actual numbers come in, so 2015, that's almost all the new growth that came in on Market Street.
Well, that was my concern. If we had 1.6 million, we only have an 18,000, we've lost over $1 million in surplus in less than 2 years' time.
No, 'cause that money goes into our free cash account.
Okay.
So we still have that. It's in another account, but we still have that.
yeah, we're just talking about new growth. The new growth is gonna decline significantly because
55%.
of Market Street.
Yeah.
The big bubble of new growth is gonna go back down to what it was before Market Street was built. But going back to the debt question, there's about $25 million in current debt, and we've been carrying that number pretty steadily for years. Most of that debt's gonna fall off the debt schedule in the year 2025. And that's one of the pieces that we're gonna look at in the CFAC plan for the infrastructure upgrades that they're gonna be suggesting. And we're gonna try to tie that in to what the town might wanna do for maintaining and improving the infrastructure in the town. Because that's been one of the problems we've had over the last 20 years, 20, 30 years, is we haven't maintained our infrastructure, and we haven't added new infrastructure that kept up with the times. So that's part of what Mr. Caswell's report was the other night, that we needed to take better care of what we have and start looking at rebuilding some of our current structures to accommodate, fire and police and possibly a new library and these different projects that are going to be presented. We're going to try to time that, hopefully, with some of the debt that's coming off, so it isn't a big impact on the town. And this is, these all come to town meeting votes, so the town will get to vote on all this stuff, and we'll discuss it in length. But we're certainly keeping a close eye on what our debt structure is.
Okay,
Okay?
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Marsley, I'd like to add something about the OPEB.
Okay.
For many years past, we were always told that the government somehow, somewhere was going to take over the OPEB problem, which was totally a falsehood. And that we discovered by talking to other government officials. I posted something on the MMA website, and we asked our own town accountants. And that's just is false.
Okay.
Right now, we need to face this in a very big and substantial way. A lot of surrounding towns, such as Wakefield, has millions of dollars in their OPEB. This is something that if we're going to secure the future of all the people that have worked for this town, we need to start seriously funding this. Because there is going to be a due date where this is going to have to be fully funded. And I'm sure as time progresses, the token dollar amounts that we're putting in now are going to have to increase substantially. Or when the day of reckoning comes, our excellent bond rating won't be excellent.
Well, I concur, because I equate this to a married couple with a family, and they're saving and they're putting aside for their children's education, and they know that obligation is going to be due in the case of loans and everything else eventually. And to me, if it isn't accounted for now, then we don't want a surprise and see, instead of a 2.5 status increase, to have it constantly go up to a 4% or a 5% override. So that was my concern.
And a basic retirement account, as in the for-profit sector, you have to fund it.
Right.
Or there are consequences.
Okay.
In the nonprofit sector, this is what we're dealing with. There are no consequences yet.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Member. Anything else on debt and interest, Mr. Walsh?
Hello, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for following up with the debt question. I know that the other long-term outstanding liability that we have is the pension side. I was looking through the Essex regional numbers, and Mr. Maney and his colleagues up there have an excellent plan to fully fund that by 2036. I know that that's an outstanding number. I also know it doesn't cover all of Linfield's employees. Do we know where everybody is, and do we have a plan, or do we know that someone else has a plan for those folks who aren't in the Essex Regional Retirement System for their pensions?
I'm not familiar. Jim?
The only ones that would not be in the Essex County would be the teachers. They'd be in the Mass Teachers Retirement System, the state system. And the state is on the same, not the same funding schedule, but the state is under the same obligation to fully fund their pensions by, I think it's 2040 is the deadline.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Mr. LaCourse?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if I'm in the right sequence on the question I'm going to raise. If I'm not, I'll be out of order. But I'm not sure where we are with respect to this budget, with respect to reserves. Some years ago, we were using a figure of 5% to 7% for reserves.
Correct.
If this budget is passed as presented and voted by town meeting, I guess my question is, what is the reserve percentage? If this question is out of order at this time, I would reserve it for later.
That's fine. We're at the end of the budget, so it'd be fine. I think Mr. Boudreau would have an estimate of where we are. I know it was in that range.
well, if we put $200,000 in our stabilization is currently $1.3 million. And our budget,
What's free cash?
sorry,
What's free cash?
free cash is 2.9. Total budget's 50 million, so do the math, 1.3, 50 million. Still a little low, we're getting there.
Well, if you add in free cash and
Free cash,
you're gonna be using some of that, and then what about,
free cash is different. Okay, free cash, that's not part of the total. You're supposed to have stabilization funds of 3 to 5%, and your budget is also supposed to generate 3 to 5% of free cash annually.
Mhm.
So that's different than your reserves. Free cash is not considered a reserve.
so the only number you're gonna use for that percentage is the stabilization account?
Yeah, and if you want, the rating agencies lump both your stabilization accounts together, so you have
Right.
Another $900,000. I can do the math if Barry wants to wait a second.
Yeah, I'd like to wait a second, Mr. Administrator. We used to have sale of real estate account,
Let's start with real estate.
and we used
Correct.
to have free cash, and we used to have
Right, we
reserve
used to add more
accounts.
into that.
And we used to use a percentage of somewhere between 5 to 7% of the total operating budget as a kind of a safety valve for reserves. Where are we at this time based on this budget passing as presented?
As presented, so you want me to add the additional reserves?
Whatever percentage you feel is a proper reserve amount, I'd like to know what that percentage is as a relationship to the presented operating budget and capital budgets.
Total reserves would be about 2.6 million. Divide that by the operating budget.
5%.
4 point something,
Around 5.1.
5.1.
which is probably one of the lowest numbers we've had in several years. Can you speak to that?
It's actually up, Harry. It's up
From where you were,
Yeah.
but lower than where we were one time?
Several years ago, and I'd have to go back, I don't have the stabilization numbers in front of me. I have the free cash numbers. The town had built up reserves over several years. Then when the economy went down around 2009, I think the town drew on those to maintain services without laying anybody off and cutting services, so it's time to build those back up. But last year we put 180,000 in stabilization, we're putting 200 this year, so we're building those back up.
So in answer, you're about 5%, you say?
About 5.1, yeah.
That's a little low. Hopefully we can address that.
Sale of real estate.
So I have no idea what's in the sale of real estate.
Well, the last sale of real estate balance was 1.8 million.
And that's not including his,
That's not included.
and that would add about, what percentage?
It'd be about at about 6.8.
Close to 7. Thank you very much.
We're using $1 million of that, right?
Yeah,
For the
so
800
you take another million
clubhouse.
back out for the clubhouse, so you probably at 5 point.
Yes, around 6%.
Still, about 6, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, about 6. I knew we brought in more numbers to figure that out. So we got anything else on employee benefits or anything? So total employee benefits, 6,318,959. Total operating budget, 51,098,071 and 52 cents. Any other questions on the operating budget? Capital? I assume everybody has the same capital that are presented the other night? If you look to the right-hand column, that's the recommended capital items that are in this budget. You got city clerk, board of health, historic, in the first two items. Any questions on those? Mrs. Campbell?
I frankly don't know where this would come, but I did bring up at a meeting the possibility of having keypads to vote on at town meeting. And what those are palm-held little devices where people can press yes or no when they're voting. It seems to me this would be the best town meeting to do this at, since we're projecting the town meeting may take 2 days, which isn't unusual for towns around us, but usually we fail to get a quorum for the second meeting. This would make the voting much more efficient and accurate, probably, than what we're presently doing. And so I wondered where my recommendation for that would fall, and if anybody's seriously considering doing that for the benefit of town meeting attendees.
I think if we bought them, would be under capital. If we leased them, would be under operating. But I don't think we haven't funded any line item to
I mean, the
address
board
that.
hasn't had a discussion as to whether that's something they want to pursue. I don't know whether it come under Trudy, the town clerk. But Mrs. Campbell brought it up this calendar year, I think, about a month or so ago. I think the town would need to look into that a little more before we just started appropriating the money. If it's something the board wants us to look into, then Trudy and I will get on it and look at it for a future capital.
Okay, thank you.
Would you vote on it tonight?
No.
2 no's. It's the modern way. You know, we get a lot of technology in the schools. We have a lot of technology at town hall. Why not give the citizens a little handheld thing to vote yes or no? I think it would encourage more people to come. It would be a lot more efficient.
Thank you, Mrs. Campbell. If you go down DPW under electric panel, 7,000. Any questions on that? DPW highway asphalt roller, 14.5. You gonna talk about the asphalt roller? Go ahead.
No, I'm going to talk about the mobile message boards next after that.
Okay,
Do you want me to speak now?
sure, go ahead. Where are the message boards? Oh, right under it. Well, we haven't funded it. Okay, I get it.
We passed a zoning bylaw against digital boards. And shortly after town meeting, there were these flashing signs in the center of town and also in South Linfield. What I found is to get the message, you had to be distracted from driving in the center of town or in South Linfield in order to read it, because it flashed in 3 messages. But since we passed that bylaw, why are we purchasing mobile message boards?
We're not. It's not funded if you pay.
It's not funded?
Yes, if you look at the right-hand column.
Oh,
the
I
funded-
see. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
That's why it's jumping around.
That's good news. Thank you.
Under DPW, engineering, 40,000. Questions? Drainage project, Ledge Road, 80,000. Road reconstruction, 500,000. Jack, go ahead.
So we mentioned this earlier in the operating budget. Last year at town meeting, there was a motion made on the floor to increase the amount that we spend on road reconstruction. And back in the operating budget, you would have seen that we increased the expense by an additional 250,000. So previously, up until that point, there was about 250,000 in the DPW line item that was being used to do the road work in addition to the Chapter 90A money. We're moving this into capital, but we want to make sure people understand that in essence, what we're doing is moving something that was in the operating budget into the capital budget, and we're doing that for the reasons that the town administrator outlined earlier. But what's also important is we're making a commitment to this. So when you look at our capital budget today, we have $250,000 that we continuously commit to school technology for upgrades and their program. We'll now have 500,000 unless we think about changing that, committed to road work. So each year we'll have at least 750,000 in capital that we will essentially be committed to. So people should think about that as really part of what's ongoing, but it's being done in the capital budget. And so it's important to note, I think I heard a conversation earlier, if you left this in the DPW budget, obviously the increase in the overall budget would be much more than what it is that we're looking at here in the operating budget. So just wanted to make sure everybody understands what we're doing there and how it's being done. When you get the book for the town meeting, it'll be also clearly outlined there as well. But it's important because in years past, when times get tough, the first thing that you cut and you look at is capital. In this instance, we have to consider that as a commitment and make sure that we're completely committed to doing that on an annual basis. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Mr. Pitsy, please. No, come on up to the microphone, please.
I didn't want to speak out of order.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
My name is James Pitsy. I live at Lombo Circle, and I'm here to talk to the Finance Committee. I had already talked with the Board of Selectmen. I would like to request funding for the Lombo Circle Drainage Project. We discussed this at length at the Selectmen's meeting, and should I explain this to the Finance Committee now? Is this the way it goes?
Yeah, why don't you give him the
Okay.
Cliff Note version?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to thank the people that were here Monday evening and the Board of Selectmen because they were very understanding and it was very lengthy. But basically what happens is that where my house faces Lombo Road, and water from the street comes down Lombo Road from Hunting Lane, Lombo Road, and Robin Road, and ends up collecting on Lombo Circle. Then it crests over my driveway, goes down my driveway, which is also an inclination that goes down, flooding my garage and then eventually flooding my finished basement. It's been a problem that's been happening for 35 years. I've been at that same address for 35 years. And I feel as though I have made a very compelling argument. I did Monday night. I think that this should be funded as part of the budget. I'll be happy to answer any questions, or I'll go into more detail. I have pictures here. I have research that I've done. If anybody has any questions or whatever, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Anyone from the finance committee have any questions for him? Jack?
The only question I think in talking about this a little bit, seeing it on capital, so I think one of our concerns would be that, for lack of a better term, we're putting a Band-Aid on something that requires a much larger scale solution.
We
So
talked.
do you have a comment on that?
Yes, we talked about this Monday night that it would be a Band-Aid, but the Department of Public Works hired this engineering firm, and it does not appear to me that this would be a Band-Aid. I mean, it looks like they don't, I know that there are different amounts of money, and this is like the minimum expenditure for the maximum gain. And I think what they have decided, they feel as though they want to take 3 of the catch basins and make large 4x4 basins. Think 4 feet wide, 4 feet long, 4 feet deep, at the intersection where my house is. And that will collect the water before it floods my garage and my finished basement. And I think that this is an engineering firm, so I believe what they said is true and that this will amend the problem. This is why I've come before you. It's been a long-term problem, and I really feel as though this will be the fix. It will mitigate all that water invading my home, and it will dissipate into the storm drains. It's my comment. I mean, they're an engineering firm. It's something that Mr. Lafferty, they had done the same work on the Ledge Road project, this particular company, and we're going with that. They approved that. My problem started way back in 1956. I have a letter from the Department of Public Works dating back to 2011, stating that my area, the drains were laid in 1956 and that they're outdated. And many things in town, as we know, get outdated and they have to be amended, taken care of, upgraded, or whatever. When I was looking at Ledge Road, I noticed that there were only like 3 houses on Ledge Road between, I have the figures here, just 3 houses between 1906 and 1910, 2 more between 1940 and 1948, 1 in 1955, and then 6 more between 64 and 2002. I'm not minimizing the Ledge Road project, but more and more was introduced into that street, and that's probably what exacerbated the problem. Plus, there was a lot of building around there. But my problem has been existing right from the beginning. It wasn't created by any additional housing or whatever. So for that reason, I think this is a worthwhile project. This is something I've had to deal with the Department of Public Works and mostly by myself for many, many years, and I just find it a very difficult situation. I feel as though a town of this affluence should allocate the money for that job.
Any more questions, Jack? No? Anyone else on the finance committee? Any residents have any more
Happy to
questions?
answer any questions, show you any pictures.
Mr. Marsalai?
Yes.
I'm looking at the new trucks, $360,000. To me, is the DPW in dire need of a new truck? That's my first question, because if it's not, to me, this would make more sense to help this gentleman out.
Thank you very much.
And if we could prolong the truck for another year, that's the suggestion I would hope.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure the DPW needs the trucks. Most of them are held together by duct tape and Band-Aids and a little bubble gum, but he's been stretching those out.
Well, my house
It-
needs help too. I feel as though my house is being compromised as
Mr.
well.
Pizzi, let me just explain why
Okay.
we came to our decision the other night. This is a one piece of a neighborhood. This solves or mitigates some of the issues with one house. It doesn't change the problem. It doesn't fix the problem. The problem is the piping and the drainage in the Longbow Circle area, and including Hunting, Robin Roads. They have a drainage issue. Okay, it's not just one house. This only addresses one house. We're talking about probably a larger $1 million drainage project that needs to be looked at for that whole area.
And what does that project entail? Where are the other problems that are having drainage issues? Because I'm not aware of any other areas that have the drainage problems that I have. I've driven through the entire area through snowstorms, rainstorms, intense rain, flash flooding, and the only area that I ever saw water pooling was when on Loxley Road, when Friars Lane intersects with Loxley Road. I believe the town owns conservation land right near the pond there, the lake, Suntog Lake, and it pools there. And at times I have seen water at the end of Robin Road, but I have never seen water collect anywhere else. There's never any water on Hunting Lane. There's never any water on Longbow Road. All that water comes down Longbow Road to Longbow Circle. I'm the receipt of that.
Right.
And I would think this situation would rectify that. It would amend that problem.
Well, as
Having
we
those
discussed in
three
length the
some-
other night,
Yes.
and Mr.
Right.
Our DPW director pointed out, it's not pooling at all the other houses, it's the drainage that's the problem. We have undersized pipes throughout the whole area. They would all need to be replaced, and it should be a larger project. By putting the catch basins that they're talking about for mitigating some of your issues, we're not touching the pipes. The pipes are not gonna get any larger, and we're still not gonna be able to maintain a flow of water when the flooding issues occur. Those pipes have to be replaced. And
Why do those pipes have to be replaced, though?
Because you have a flooding issue there that's not gonna be changed by a couple of catch basins. It's the same issue, it's the same discussion we had the other night,
Well,
Mr. Pitsy.
I would, exactly, but
Yeah.
I was told that I could come here and I thought I was talking
Okay.
to the finance
Sure.
committee. Aren't I talking to the finance committee?
You are.
Because, all right.
I asked,
so-
they have no more
right,
questions,
they
so
have-
we were just
Does the finance
discussing it.
committee have any other questions? Okay. Then could I ask Mr. Lafferty a question then?
Sure.
Why is it that Linden Engineering had given us that scenario, that less costly scenario?
When Linden looked at the entire watershed area, they came up with their recommended methods for improving the system out there. Their first method of recommendation was placing the undersized pipes, which currently is really the overall problem. Those pipes are already maximized, the flow is maximized in those pipes in a very minor storm, what they refer to as a 2-year storm. Anything we do, like adding additional catch basins, all we're doing is just creating short-term storage. We're not increasing the capacity of the system at all. Their initial recommendation was, if the money was there, to increase the capacity of the system and replace the pipes. Their secondary approaches, which one was included, was adding those large catch basins and some other smaller things to do, were just small approaches, but wouldn't fix the overall problem.
Okay, I have a report here, the report from Linden Engineering, and under suggested improvement scenarios, I understand what you're saying. It said there was a complete resolution, but based on the discussions with the Linfield Department of Public Works, this extensive renovation is not feasible given budget considerations. So I understand that you can't give an overhaul, but I do not understand why we cannot deal with the second issue that they had brought up, the second way of handling it, the maximum gain for the minimum expenditure. And that involves, it said it'd be critical to reduce flooding. It would certainly help, not only it will help my house gets flooded all the time. I don't want to go into it again, we've discussed it Monday. It's a very difficult problem, I've had it for years and years and years. This would eliminate that, and this would help the entire area as a whole, as far as I'm concerned. And why did they give you this section of the report if it wasn't something that they felt as though this engineering company could deal with?
So I have a follow-up question to Andrew. So the engineering firm recommended that we do this overhaul of the pipe system in this area. what other issues besides this gentleman's flooding basement would that alleviate? The bigger project, right? Because would that also just solve his basement from flooding? Is that just a more expensive solution to the same issue, or are there other issues in the area that would solve for, in addition to this gentleman's basement?
We're not aware of any other properties in the general area that have seen the significant flooding in their basement. We are aware that many of the residents in the area have some pumps and are able to maintain, they must be able to maintain because we haven't heard any additional issues. We do know that from the evaluation that the entire system over there is undersized, and that clearly it's not going to get any better without some future work.
So then, I guess, to follow up on his point, right? If the solution 5 years from now is to redo the pipes, that's going to be $1 million plus project. This engineering firm said that this solution might work for $140,000. Is that correct? And you just don't believe that the engineering firm is correct in that? Or are we looking at $1 million? You just think that it's going to cost $1 million to solve the flooding in this gentleman's basement?
The recommendation from the engineering firm didn't say it would solve the flooding in the gentleman's basement. It said it would mitigate the flooding in certain storms. If we get a big enough storm, a reasonable big enough storm, those structures will still overfill, and the restriction at that point becomes the piping from there. So all it's really doing is adding storage. It's not really improving the system. So it may gain some time in a short storm, but if we have any extended storm, it would not be able to keep up.
The comment is made that I'm maintaining, the system is maintaining itself. Is that what you said, Mr. Lafferty? The system is maintaining itself? That was the word I heard you say, because no one else in the area is having the problem that I'm having. Nobody else is complaining. Didn't you say the system is maintaining itself?
I'm not sure I understand if that's what
No,
I said.
no,
so.
that's what you said. The system at this point is maintaining itself. What I'm trying to say is the system is maintaining itself because all the excess water is going up over my drive, over the berm, this huge berm that I have in my driveway, and going down my driveway, flooding my garage and flooding my finished family room. So that excess water is, I have a French drain and I have 2 sump pumps. So that, system really isn't maintaining it all. I says, I'm the one that's maintaining it. Other people aren't having the severity of the problem because of the way my house is positioned in the driveway that I have.
Yeah, we don't disagree that the flooding issue happens. So I'm not sure what you mean by the system's maintaining itself.
Well, I thought I heard you say something that nobody else has said anything. Nobody else is having the flooding
We have
problem.
no record of additional flooding at other properties
Right, because
similar to yours.
I am in receipt of all the flooding because of
Correct.
where I'm situated.
But kind of the point was made that this $140,000 that our department did request to do this work will directly mitigate one property as compared to possible other factors that could be looked at that would address the whole neighborhood down the line.
If I just have one question with that, with the $1 million solution where we're increasing the diameter of the pipes, would that also involve the catch basins? Like, or would we have in the project for $1 million? Does that involve the increase of catch basins?
Not really. Their recommendation was if we were going to do something along the larger system, we would have to address some other factors further up the road, some catch basins up there, some regrading of the road. It's kind of a multitude of factors that impact that.
So I guess to put it a little more plainly, is putting this 120,000 in, will reduce, if we wanted to do the $1 million project down the road, is it still $1 million or is it 900?
Right, no, I understand. The current, and there hasn't been an overall design, obviously, of the larger project, but the larger project would not utilize that $140,000 worth of work.
Thank you.
I would like to read from the drainage report. At the crest of the Linfield Department of Public Works, we have made a pre-designed guesstimate of construction costs of the catch basin, inlet, manhole, pipe improvements, and minor roadway regrading at the intersection of Longbow Road and Longbow Circle, using the January 2005 Mass DOT bid price compilation and our current understanding of the scope of the work. The estimate for the improvements is $80,000, which doesn't include surveying, engineering, design work for topographic and utility survey, et cetera, et cetera. The estimate for this work throughout the watershed is $37,500, full cleaning and video inspection. Mr. Lafferty, haven't we already had the cleaning and inspection number one? I know it's been done, so we don't even have that expense, okay? Then similarly, we estimate that the cost of adjusting and repairing catch basin rims will range from $4,500 to $12,500 for each catch basin, depending on if the structure needs to be moved or replaced, or if the structure needs to be enlarged for a double rim, and the amount of regrading and curb work, okay? I know it says, I will also say, these costs must be addressed individually by studying each basin and developing a solution to intercept the runoff tributary to that basin. Well, $37,500, I mean, that's not, if we did the three of them, and I know there have to be pipes, but maybe we could do it for less than $140,000. I mean, I don't know if we have to, I don't know where that amount came up.
So the $80,000 in that estimate was just for the installation of the structures only. It did not include the paving of the intersection, the regrading of the intersection, the curb work, the police details, the prevailing wage, and all the other stuff that goes along with, in addition to engineering and the design of the project. That 80 grand estimate was for the initial installation of 3 large-sized structures in the ground.
But do we need to do all of that just
Yes.
to put those 3 structures in the ground? Do we have to repave? Why would
Yes,
we
we
have
do.
to? What would we repave just over the?
Because we would need to regrade the road so the actual runoff goes into the catch basins.
Well, I'm wondering if
Because the
there's
shape
a
of the
way.
road doesn't lend well to
Well,
water going into
the
the
road
catch basins.
lists one way to the right, but that's probably over time.
Right.
But I'm just wondering if I could go before the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, and can we just put in these large sumps that they're talking about without the constant regrading? I mean, the water's gonna go down there anyway. If we put in those sumps, it would collect the water before it crests over my driveway, over the driveway and down into my house. I mean, can't we just start with that piece of it?
We would still have to do all the other work. We can't do it without police details, we can't do it without bid documents, we can't not pave the road after we tear it open, because by the time these structures we're talking about run about 8 feet wide each. So by the time we open up 3 8-foot holes in the ground in the intersection, almost the whole intersection needs to be resurfaced. So
Just the intersection?
correct, just the intersection. That's where the 3 structures will be placed.
Because there's a new section of road at Longbow Road that was put in less than a year ago. so
Right, we
that-
patched a small
Yeah.
section up there, correct.
So it would be just that section. So I think what I'm saying, is there a way that we could do this for less money, do this piece of it? Because this might take care of the problem for me and for the entire area.
The 140 is an engineer estimate, so it is possible the work could get done for a little less.
For less.
Yeah, 110, 120, 130, I mean,
Well,
That's-
then
that's an
I'm
engineer-
asking
it's
the
an engineer
finance
estimate,
committee
so-
then if there is some way that money could be funded, could find money. You know, I read things about free cash to be used for any lawful purpose. I don't know about this, but is there any supplemental money? Is there any emergency money, surplus money, some way, excess money, that something can be done just to eliminate my problem? And I believe not only, I think the thing is here that people say, well, I'm one person, but I think it will take care of the whole area in addition to my severe problem that I'm having. just think it should be addressed and it should be done. I've been dealing with this, much too long.
Yeah, Mr. Pitsy, we can talk about this all night, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not, we aren't engineers, we aren't gonna engineer your project for you while we're here.
Yeah,
We,
I don't
everybody,
expect you
we
to,
all
but-
understand you have this, the flooding problem, and we will have the DPW and the town will keep looking at it, but it's not gonna get resolved here tonight, so.
All right, so I was told by the town administrator that I could come here and explain the situation.
And you
So
have.
no recommendations are done. I'm saying I just come and I explain the situation.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that's it.
Correct,
So it wasn't ever going to be recommended.
correct.
So no one
Well,
ever
well,
comes before here.
Can I just, so
Okay.
to be clear, the purpose of this budget, hearing is to review both budgets. The finance committee has gone through the process of meeting with all the departments, understanding their requests, having subcommittee meetings with the managers. This is, for all intents and purposes, the forum in which anybody can come forward and talk about any of those items. The finance committee, we, Monday, will vote our recommendations. So, we will vote budget recommendations for operating and recommendations for capital. So the forum itself is meant to do exactly what you're doing.
Okay. So in other words, maybe I'm unclear, and if I am unclear, I apologize. I stated my situation as I've done Monday night as well. I'm sorry for the Board of Selectmen that they've had to listen to this twice. But no recommendations are made here. There may or may not be a recommendation as opposed to what I said, or there's going to be no recommendation.
The finance committee's recommendations will be made on next Monday night.
Okay, all right.
And we will recommend both
Okay.
our operating budget and the capital budget.
I was unaware of that. I thought that when I came before the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, that they would either accept or deny the, so for that.
Not in this
Oh,
venue.
you don't need to, no.
Maureen, you have a question?
Yes, can I ask Mr. Pitsy?
Yes.
About how much money in property loss have you gone through in the past 35 years of carpet that has to be ripped up, furniture?
Carpet has to be ripped. I could probably tabulate a list. Because not only is carpet, I've had to cut back sheet rock, I've done the French drain, then I've done battery backups for the French drains. I mean,
Total
it just
$140,000?
goes.
Or 50? 25? It sounds-
75, maybe $75,000, I would think. I would think 75. I mean, there are so many things that you have to take in consideration, is the French drain. And then you want to minimize the water as much, so then things that are around your house, like your downspouts, I mean, you should have them go away from the house in the basement. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I would think the major, to answer your question, I mean, I think it was just cutting back sheetrock and replacing sheetrock and making sure that things do not have mold and bleaching things out. And I don't know how many floors I've gone through. I don't have a floor there now, I just have the cement basement floor because I just don't want to put anything down there because it's just going to get water and sludge and everything else that comes with it.
Yeah, Mr. Pitsy, we'll put, we're obviously
you.
gonna keep
Thank
looking
you.
at this, and the
Yeah.
DPW and the town will put this on our capital improvement projects as a neighborhood
Okay,
project
it's-
for next year, which will include you taking care of your problems. It'll as a,
So it's going to be for next year. I thought a decision wasn't made.
well, as far as the Board of Selectmen, we made a decision.
Okay,
la-
the
the
Board
other-
of Selectmen,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I just want to get this clear, but has the Finance Committee made a decision?
The finance committee has not recommended their budget. Monday evening, we will be doing that.
Okay, so we still don't know whether this is going to be approved or denied by the Finance Committee.
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay. And one other question that I'd like to make, if this is not the venue, please explain to me, is this part of open discussion?
We're
right
just
now?
talking about these items right
Okay,
now.
okay. All right. I would like to have a meeting like with the selectmen, with the town administrator, with the finance committee, with anybody else that is interested in the near future. Is this the time to ask that, or do I wait for another time?
You can schedule that by calling the town.
Call,
tomorrow, right?
but, so in other words, I can't get any verbal okay
Well,
now, I
there's-
have to
there's-
call.
There's 14 of us to get
Okay.
together at the same time, so.
Okay,
If you want
all right.
everybody to be there, then you would
Okay.
have to schedule it.
Well, maybe it won't be all 14 then, because I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah, yeah.
I would like to thank the Finance Committee, I would like to thank the Board of Selectmen, I would like to thank all of my fellow citizens of Linfield that have been listening to this Monday and this evening, and the support that I've got from a lot of people. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
I'd just like to make a quick statement. I think the Finance Committee should consider doing something for this gentleman, because if we don't, we could just be facing a lawsuit instead, in which we will be paying for the damage to his property and wind up having to do these road repairs. So I certainly hope that you gentlemen consider doing something.
Mrs. Kim?
First of all, I think we should try walking in someone else's shoes. It's clearly a town responsibility when the drainage is incorrect and is damaging someone's property to the extent and for as many years as this man has endured it. It seems that we have a lot of wish lists here, and I think we can find the way to at least mitigate the problem without doing the big $1 million project. Walk in someone else's shoes.
Moving on with the capital, the DPW. New trucks, 360,000. Any questions on the trucks? Down to snow and ice, 19,000 for spreader controls. Public administration, large format scanner printer, black and white, 30,000. Stormwater compliance, 15,000. On the municipal buildings, town hall, ventilation, air conditioning, 20,000. Fuel tank compliance, electrical upgrade, 14,000. Compressor replacement, fire department, 9,000. Energy management system, 10,000. Facility maintenance program, 8,000. The library, septic replacement, 20,000. I believe that's just for the engineering part of it.
Yeah, we're gonna try to finish the engineering to see if we can actually bring that over to the town hall. As we discussed Monday night, putting a septic system behind the library is gonna cause all kinds of problems with the parking, with the drainage, so
Yep.
we're gonna see if we can bring it across the street first.
Okay, thank you. South fire, compressor replacement, 9,000. South school, kitchen fire suppression system, 12,000. DPW garage renovations, 15,000. School buildings, middle school main entry floor drain damage, 15,000. School building, replace fire alarm panel at the middle school, 10,000. Facility maintenance program, 8,000. Wastewater treatment plants, 14,000. Other town improvements, electronic time pay system, 15,500. Pillings Pond improvements, 18,000. Town common electric upgrade, 6,000. Street lamp replacement program, 8,000. Personal protective equipment, 15,000. Radio repairs and upgrades, 19,700. Yes.
Sorry, would you give me a second?
Yep, go ahead.
I realize that there are an awful lot of calls in the public purse, but I actually wanted to pitch The fire chief had asked for, excuse me, this is unsolicited, I speak only as a citizen. The fire chief in his capital budget last year had asked for an extractor for $10,000. This year in his request, he only asked for an extractor for $8,000, and I understand that was some research on his part to lower the estimated cost. In some 100 years of organized firefighting in Linfield, we've only had one line of duty death. We lost firefighter Alan Melanson in 1994, correct me if I'm wrong, and that was a cancer death. He had gone into, on mutual aid, he had gone into a Lynn chemical plant, and every other firefighter who went into the chemical plant contracted all the same cancers, and what happens is the cancers get into the bunker gear, and because we only buy a little bit of bunker gear at a time for each individual firefighter, you put it on time and time again, every day you get re-exposed to all the chemicals that get in there. The extractor is how the firefighters take care of their gear. They clean it. You know, we buy them expensive gear, and then when the machines to take care of their gear, which they do themselves, particularly the call guys who don't get paid to take care of their own gear, they just do it. An extractor, I know it doesn't seem like a lot. It's not even a tenth of the budget, but I wanted to pitch that, you know, we're always going to remember those guys, the Worcester Cold Storage and the Vendome fire and the Back Bay fire. It would be a real shame if we didn't learn the lessons that caused us to lose the guys in the first place. And so I really wanted to pitch with all my heart for an extractor, for whatever it was worth. And I'd hope the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen might consider adding it back into the budget request. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Radio repairs and upgrades? Yes. I'm sorry. Bob.
While we still have Andrew here, I just want to follow back with a question. I'm sorry, I'm going back a couple items.
Sure.
On the middle school, I'm sorry, on the wastewater treatment plants and the 14,000, could you, Andrew, could you explain a little bit? Is that the high school and or the middle school? I know we discussed upgrades to both.
Yeah, those are just for the high school treatment plant. There are two flow meters that one is failing, the other one is the exact same model, both put in originally. That's to replace both of those devices.
And is that going to help to alleviate the issue, the odor issue in the parking lot?
No, it has nothing to do with the odors.
Okay, can you talk a little bit about that one then?
What do you want to know? This is to replace two pieces of equipment that are. This is to replace two pieces of equipment that regulate the flow, or that monitor the flow. Excuse me.
Okay. Well, I guess on the other end of it, then, was there anything put in here for that, or do we know what will alleviate that issue?
Well, it's a series of things. A lot of it's based on the flow at the time. If there's low flows, that tends to cause odors. It also impacts the status of the carbon filters. We have recently swapped out the carbon in the filters. It's a large process, a somewhat expensive process, but it's a maintenance item. So it's really covered under the maintenance budget, not under the capital budget. It's just a daily monitoring process more so. There's no current plan in place to fix it. We were definitely be looking at it. I'm aware of it from last year. Obviously, prior to that, I'm not really familiar with how often the odors have been happening. So,
Andrew, excuse me for a second.
Yes.
I know when we addressed this issue with the Fields project, and of course, we all knew it existed, wasn't the engineering firm that does the maintenance, aren't they responsible to come up with a solution for that? Isn't that, this has been an ongoing issue for more than a few years?
I don't know. I'm not aware of them being tasked to look into the project.
Because I thought
look into the
Martinez,
issue. I mean,
Martinez Engineering, aren't they?
Martinez is
yeah.
the maintenance.
Right.
engineering firm, yes.
I believe the time that they were still trying to find a remedy to that at the time when we put the
All right.
fields in. So I think
Well, we'll definitely follow them. I'm not aware of them working on it as a specific project, but we do interact with them on a daily basis to make
Yeah.
sure.
I believe if you discuss it with them, this is something that it's still under their umbrella. Okay.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, down to the bottom of the page, we have Route 1 radio upgrade, 36.5. Fire incident reporting software, 11.9. The last page, we have at the top, fire engine, It's a different spelling of engine, okay. Replacement, $489. Citizen transparency, this is a upgrade that we were looking for on the software system for the town hall. And we're still discussing which company we're gonna use for the transparency software. But it'll be a much better user-friendly system for people to see not only the larger picture of the town, but more detail on the finances for the town. You'll be able to get that through the website. Old computer desks, 10-8. Police cruisers, 1 Tahoe, 1 Explorer, 1 Taurus, 123,370. Radio site replacement, 37. Portable radio upgrade, 34,157. Office furniture. This looks like is this for the new conservation room? Yep, thank you. 3244. Second EMC project payment, 250. And state requirement update, zoning bylaw, and master plan, 40,000. Any questions? Mrs. Campbell.
The first is when Mr. Caswell made the report for the CFAC the other night. He mentioned the superintendent's office might want to move again. Now, we just spent, I think it was $75,000 last year to renovate the wing behind the senior center to make way for the superintendent. Prior to that, we renovated a preschool to put in the preschool. Prior to that, we renovated to lease it to Seam. We've also made quite a few changes to Town Hall. We've built offices. We've expanded offices into the original meeting room that we had there. My concern is that and also we put new windows in the middle school before we built the new middle school. And evidently the supports in the building that existed in the windows were damaged to such a point that the walls at the middle school were falling apart. And that's one of the reasons I voted for the school renovations. What I'm saying is that we need to look to the future. We need a plan so that we are not constantly changing things and then changing them again. It's without a plan, we're going to continue to do the same things and make the same mistakes over and over again. The other question is, at the very bottom, it says bonded item $849,000. Does that mean we're going into debt for that, for some of the items in this, or would you
Yes.
explain that, please?
Yes, there's going to be $849,000, which I believe is the fire truck and the vehicles for the DPW, correct. The rest of it will be out of cash. Now, Mrs. Campbell, if you listen to the, obviously you did the CFAC report, that's what they're doing. We're tasked with coming up with that long-term plan. And the plan, he had mentioned that as a possible reuse of the old library, if we built a new library, invite me to move the school committee back over there, or the school department back over there. But that's just a suggestion. These are all suggested uses, and this is several years down the line. This isn't going to happen in the near future.
However, wouldn't it have been nice? The senior center needs space.
Right.
Wouldn't it perhaps been prudent not to move the superintendent's office yet and give the senior center the area that they needed? That's what bothers me about not having a forward-looking plan.
Yeah, well, when we gave that space up to the schools, when they moved their preschool, the senior center didn't get 2 new rooms. So they did expand the senior center.
I think they got half a room.
No, they got 2 full rooms.
I gave them a full, we made
They
sure it
got,
was a full.
the second one was a full room, not a half room. Yeah, they had a room the year before, then the second year they got a full room.
Okay, I'll check on that.
Go ahead. Any other questions, capital, operating? Anything else from the finance committee? Any comments?
No, so just to make sure we're clear on the process and people understand how we're operating, the finance committee operates in a subcommittee structure as well, and we meet with all the departments, both in the subcommittee and then if they want to come in and present to us, and most do. In addition to that, obviously, at our regular meetings, we're discussing the financial aspects of just about everything we talked about here tonight, or everything and more. After this hearing, our next meeting will be Monday evening, and that's when the finance committee will make the recommendations related to both capital and operating. And that's it, Bill. Thanks.
Well, if nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.